Okay, now we wanted to talk about your last album, Hellfire and Damnation, which represents the essence of new wave of British heavy metal, and it's pure heavy metal. That was the sound that you were searching for in this album, this pure raw heavy metal.
Uh, well, it's something that just happens when you make an album. We weren't really planning on anything, really. It's just how things go, you know. There's quite a few people involved in making albums, like the band, producers, engineers, and you know, when we demoed the tracks, we wanted them to be a certain, you know, a lot of power and aggression in the music. And I think that's what we're looking for, you know. Good songs, number one, you know, and recorded with a lot of passion and energy. That's what we wanted. And I think this album really does that.
Okay, now in this album there are a lot of great songs, but for me the best ones are the title track and Madame Guillotine, which is impressive from start to finish. Which are the songs that you prefer from this album if you had to pick some?
I think Madame Guillotine, Hellfire is a good choice. I think them two are very different, you know. Um, One's like brutally heavy metal, Hellfire Damnation, and then Madame Guillotine's a bit sort of, uh, you know, the musical style's a bit lighter, but the lyrics are very dark, you know. So yeah, I think that's a good, you know, probably one of my favorite songs. Yeah, Hellfire Damnation, Madame Guillotine. I quite like something in Roswell. It's pretty cool. It's got an 80s feel to it, you know.
Okay. Now I wanted to ask you about you are one of the most influential bands in the history of heavy metal. Bands like Metallica have talked about their influence with your sound. How does it feel to listen to such major bands talk about how your music has influenced them?
I think it's great that bands, you know, come out and say who influenced them. It helps us because, you know, by doing that, some of their fans come to listen to us as well, you know. So we pick up a lot of fans from Metallica and, you know, some of the other bands that have stated our influences. So people are checking us out all the time, especially a younger audience. So I think it's good, you know, that people like Metallica and, you know, Machine Head and some of the other bands, you know, say that we influence them. A lot of the American bands like Motley Crue and, you know, some of the 80s rock bands were influenced by Saxon and Motorhead and Judas Priest and Iron Maiden, you know. So I think it's good to be in the, you know, top five British metal bands, really.
Okay. Now the world has changed in the way we listen to music. Uh, Before you had to go to buy a record to listen to it and wait months sometimes to listen to it. Now you can listen it at any moment when it comes out, and it has changed everything. What do you think about this change towards the digital sector these days? Do you think it's good or bad for the industry?
I think it's both. I think it's good and bad. I think you know, for bands like us, we have to adapt to the new things. I think if you don't adapt, then you die basically. So I think you have to adapt and have your foot in both the new and the old. You know, we release vinyls which people like and people buy, and we have big streaming numbers as well. So, you know, we live in both worlds. And I think most of the bands that are successful still from the 80s also live in both worlds. I think, you know, bands like Maiden and Priest and Metallica, actually, you know, they use social media a lot. Uh, but there is still printed, you know, you know, rock printed papers. And there are still vinyls and there's still cassettes and there's still CDs, and there's streaming, and there's you can buy things on iTunes, or it's just you just have to adapt. I think it's good and bad. I think some things are better for the public, but I think for the business, it's sometimes a lot worse now.
Okay. Now, a lot of rock bands and fans idealize this period of the new wave of British heavy metal, but what was it for someone who was there living it and being one of the top bands in that moment? How was that period for you, the new wave?
Well, it was like winning the lottery, really. We were one of many bands who were trying to make it in 1979, 1980. And, it was just a fantastic feeling. It's just like winning the lottery, really. We got a lot of fans very quickly, and we did a lot of TV and on the radio all the time. So a lot of things come with success. I think, it's a crazy time for that to happen, but it does happen a lot with bands. It still happens today. Bands go from nothing to being really big very quickly. But it was a fantastic feeling. We have our fans and followers to thank for that.
Setting aside the bands that had like the more success, which are the bands that you liked the most from that time? Like maybe bands that are big or bands that they didn't make it. What were your favorite bands from that period that came out with you?
Well, I think that our favourite bands were bands from the 70s, really. Like Sabbath and Purple and bands like that. A few odd bands that we liked that probably nobody ever heard of. But we were into all the stuff that people were into in the 70s. We liked the 60s as well, but the 70s were really the beginnings of metal. So that's really what we were into. And we liked Judas Priest, we liked Motorhead, we liked UFO, we liked Thin Lizzy, those type of bands. And, in 1980, we got to tour with most of those bands, supporting them. So it was a bit like a dream come true, really.
Now, sadly, we heard the news of the death of John Sykes, one of the members of this new wave, who sadly passed away this week. Do you have any records of and memories of that time touring with bands like Tiger of Pantan in that time?
Yeah, well, John, we knew John quite well. He was a great guitarist, fantastic guitarist. We met him in Tigers of Pantan. They supported us in 1980 on the Wheels of Steel tour. So we got to know them quite well, Tigers of Pantan. I mean, it's a sad loss, really. He was a talented guitar player, musician, songwriter. I think, one of his albums, Blue Thunder, was it Blue Thunder? Yeah, it was a great album, and he did some great work with Whitesnake and Thin Lizzy. So, yeah, I think he'd be, a big miss, really. A lot of people will miss him.
Now, I want to talk about you personally. I'm very, very impressed of watching your power in your voice after so many years on stage. I could see you last time this June in Hellfest. How do you do to take care of your voice for so much years? Do you do anything special for taking?
No, nothing special. Just look after it, really, and no, nothing special. Nothing secret. No, just sing. Keep singing, really.
Okay, now I want to talk about the writing aspect of music, because in heavy metal, a lot of bands run out of ideas in some point of their career. However, in your case, Saxon has been doing very good in the writing process for a lot of years, and you still come out with very good music for all this year. What is the reason behind this creativity over all these years?
I think it probably comes from me, really, because I'm always sort of thinking of ideas for songs, themes for songs and lyrics and things. And You know, I do ask the guys in the band to come up with ideas for me all the time. You know, so yeah, I mean, I'm pushing people all the time really to give me ideas so I can work on. I'm already started writing music with the boys, you know, with the band for the next album. So I'm always working, you know, an hour, 2 hours a day, writing and looking for ideas and things, you know. So it's, you know, being a songwriter is a bit like being a book writer. You have to spend a lot of time to get something that's great, you know.